Hey, everybody, welcome to a special live broadcast here on the interview room. It's great to see everybody this afternoon. So appreciative of you all at the last moment, kind of jumping in here. Wow. A lot of moving parts in Abby and Libby's case. Indiana State Police making some moves. It's pretty obvious. It's great to have everybody here on this short notice. I wasn't intending on completely going up here, but I have the affidavit that I want to go over and kind of break it down with you. So it's so great to have our mods here. Miss Sophia, Maui Girl, Mimi J2, Four Sons Mom, Sophie H, Stephanie Herb. I tell you, we can't do it without you. We just can't do it without you. Well, we got a lot to cover today, so let's get into it, shall we? I'm Chris McDonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. So let's do a quick roll call. Where's everybody chiming in from today? Let's see where you are. It's great to see everybody. Radio Gods, hello. Jan on the Lamb. It's awesome. It's great to see you here. Heidi, welcome. Indiana's in the house. Bobby Lynn. I think you're going to like what you're going to see today, Bobby. Single Mama 4. Absolutely. Great to see you today. Great to see you. Amanda, Fresno's in the house. Dana from North Texas. Hook'em Horns. Teresa from Australia. So great to see you. Rockwood, Tennessee in the house. Soul Survivor. Kimberly M. Cherry Hill, New Mexico. Kokomo, not too far from what we're going to talk about today. Merritt from Norway. Oregon's in the house with Lynn. Blonde Fox 315, New Jersey. A Jersey girl in the house. It's great to see you here. Jane Tonks, the UK, thank you for being here. Thank you. Elbows Mum from the UK. Michigan's in the house with Marianne. BC, up in our great friends in Canada. It's great to see you today, Wendy. Let's see here. Aquaneo Moon, Dallas. Knoxville, Tennessee. It's great to see you. And of course, Hannah from Utah. Happy, great to have you here over in Germany, our European friends. We love you guys. We're so appreciative of you taking your time today. Joy Carter from Georgia. Wow, what a bummer on that game, right? But, Alabama and Georgia, wow, roll tide and, go Bulldogs. But things are amazing. Lynchburg, Virginia. Wow. It's so great to have everybody here today. It really is. We are so appreciative of your time, your support, and coming to the True Crime channel that has the most factual information, even though rumors float around the international internet. Otherwise, that said, wow. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, first thing we're going to talk about is Mr. Klein. And I want to, for the record, in the very beginning, Indiana State Police has come clearly out front and said, look, there is nothing connecting him currently or in evidentiary values to the deaths of Abby and Libby. However, they did put into the ether about finding um, who was connected to a social media account. And then ultimately, it appeared that it belonged to Mr. Keegan Klein, who, by the way, has, it looks like he's in major trouble, major trouble. He was connected uh, through a variety of sources, primarily the Internet Crimes Against Children team there in Indiana with the Indiana State Police. So I want to break down a couple of things about him today. This is the group that broke him down, the Cyber Crimes Unit, in the Investigative Technology section, and they utilized a whole bunch of tools, which I'm going to explain to you and kind of make sense of it so that we can see, where they're headed, if anywhere, with this individual. He came up into the ether pretty quickly, pretty quickly after the girl's death. He actually, surfaced. It sounded like they had some case on him that they were working in a different direction. And then, the girls um, who, their death when they were reported missing on the 13th of February, 2017, and then subsequently just found on the 14th. Uh, my guess is this guy was already in the ether, and they hit his house on the 25th of 2017. So these were some of his catfish sock accounts, i.e., they're fake accounts. He was utilizing this one on eBay, where he had an affinity for certain uh, types of victims. And so he would meet them in a variety of different places. This is one of the sock accounts, or what they call, catfish accounts. They're basically made up. And then people start talking to themselves into this fictitious, um, you know, type of persona. So this is the secret life, and we see it all the time. I mean, all of us here are familiar with it. We see it all the time. It happens on YouTube. It happens on Twitter. It happens on Instagram. And so there's a variety of different places these folks go to pretend, basically, in this anonymous persona. Uh, our gentleman here, Mr. Klein, utilized uh, a couple of different personas. This is another one that he used. This he, if you look at his list on this particular one here, all of his followers, that's 700 following, um, pretty much were almost all women. And the 136 or the 700 that he was following were probably 95% women, and the ages varied. But he had 136 followers who apparently he was able to break down and get into, um, his activities with them. So he was using, other photographs. He was using, a variety of other tricks that they do. And where I want to go today is his probable cause of arrest affidavit. And I want to break that down so that we can clearly see how these guys operate and why he came up so early into the environment. Now, again, let's be clear. This is a sensitive essay conversation. We're not going to talk about children. The comments have been deleted for that reason, and I do that um, because, quite frankly, YouTube will do it anyway. So I just get ahead of it. However, the chat is here to keep it classy and conversation-like. And we can get into, some of the things that were discovered in this particular affidavit. So on the 25th of February in 2017, ISP, or Indiana State Police, hit his house in Peru, Indiana. He was subsequently, they had a laundry list of charges, and one of them, or you can see them there, 354246, which is, and by the way, I went through this and redacted the investigators' names, as well as anything that, would throw a red flag, um, for not only all of us, but out of due respect for the children that we're talking about here, Abby and Libby and their families, and the Indiana State Police, who are actively investigating their cause. They're trying to catch whoever was responsible here. This guy, though, came to the surface pretty quickly, very quickly. If we take a look at this and we measure what's been out there and what we know as factual in nature, the children were found on the 14th, reported missing on the 13th of February 2017, found the next day. This guy, it is about a 37-minute approximate drive from this guy's front door over to the Delphi area. So Peru is about 37 minutes away as a crow flies, based on what Google Maps says. And so, yeah, the catfish account on eBay, correct. He had a couple of them out there, but his, where he liked to get his victimology primarily for what he was looking for, he utilized Instagram pretty heavily. And we're going to break that down here on, some of the things that we learn here in this affidavit. So they hit his house. This affidavit was for child solicitation, exploitation, possession of CP. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he also used I love this law in Indiana. It's called synthetic identity deception, i.e., catfishing, which is a a term for creating these sock accounts or these fake accounts, and then utilize them to go out and victimize people. And it's if you watch Emotional Arsonist on one of our videos, this is really how these folks operate. So on the 25th of February, and the ISP, Indiana State Police, and the FBI, they execute a search warrant. Now, in this search warrant, which we don't have yet, they lay out enough probable cause to go search this guy's house. And in that search warrant, they lay out what they're looking for. And so one thing to understand about the ICAC teams all across the U.S. and across the world, quite frankly, ICAC stands for Internet Crimes Against Children. And these guys and gals are just amazing human beings. They have to see the drudge and the horrible, horrible things connected to that particular problem, which, by the way, is at an epidemic height, in my opinion, throughout the world. There is just so much of it. You cannot, and they cannot keep ahead of it. So the ISP Cyber Crimes Unit, that they were sent information that this guy was soliciting through social media platforms, specifically female juveniles. And he was going by the name of Anthony _ shots. And his media platforms that he enjoyed using were Snapchat and Instagram. So again, this goes back to, if you're a grandfather, a grandmother, a mom or dad, um, you know, take WhatsApp and, some of these other applications off your children's phones. We never let Dylan have any of that stuff for obvious reasons. I mean, one, he's got a dad who, you know, just wouldn't roll with the times, because I knew, as you guys know, everybody knows, you guys all know this, that he would utilize these guys would utilize those types of platform to bait our children and to set them up and lure them in. Well, this guy is a perfect example of that. So he was using that AKA, or a fake anonymous name, of Anthony underscore shots. So what the feds did is they send some subpoenas to Instagram and Snapchat for account information on Mr. Anthony underscore shots. The Instagram and Snapchats returned a Comcast IP address. And then the Comcast folks were sent a subpoena connecting Mr. Shots to that IP address. Amazing, great, awesome work. Good for them. That said, they were able to nail down a particular address of where the conversations were coming from. And so what we call in the business, this is a tight, conversation that you're able to tie together pretty quickly because you have the electronic evidence and the electronic data to say, okay, it's coming from this place. So now we just have to identify who is in that location. Because you could have innocent people in there, and then obviously in this particular circumstance, there were, and there are. And so you don't want to jump to too many conclusions. But as an investigative tool, you also want to stay alert to the potential, are there other parties involved here? Okay. That kind of situation. So, um, anyway, so they found that that account was registered on 7/20/2016. The Instagram account and the Snapchat account was registered on 7/14/2016. So they were within 6 days of each other. This guy really started to fire up. Now, we move forward on the 25th of 2017. They hit the house where this IP address was coming from, and they came up with a father and a son, and the son's name was Keegan Anthony Klein, who also listed that address as belonging to him. So that was about 12:30 in the morning. At about in the afternoon, PM, 12:35, he was interviewed by the FBI and Indiana State Police. Now, mind you, right, we want to keep in mind that this is within a reasonable time frame of the girls. And so they're thinking, they've got to be thinking, because we see it later on in this affidavit, you know, either we got a super interesting coincidence here, or we have a situation that somehow we need to connect this guy. And to this point, again, for the record, they have made it very clear he is not. There is no evidence connecting him. Okay, so let's make sure we all understand that going forward as we have this discussion today. And there's no evidence as of yet in any way, shape, or form connecting him, if they ever come up with any evidence. But they did start in February 2015, 2017, trying to connect the circumstances in relationship to who could have been soliciting children. And is it possible that these two children, Abby and Libby, were targets of that solicitation? Because remember, let's go back to the victim continuum. Okay. If they're put into a high, medium, or low risk activity, okay, then if they're utilizing potentially these types of items like Snapchat, like Instagram, that puts them really in a medium to high um, potential of environment, situation, circumstance. So it puts them on the higher end, which would be more consistent with a total stranger targeting them and not somebody known to their environment, which makes sense based on the geographic location of where they were found. So that said, this gentleman was interviewed. Um, he was read his Miranda immediately. And that is also another good sign that no matter what he said at that point, it would be admissible into court. And if they collected any additional evidence at that time because they had a search warrant, that would be admissible. It would not be what we call fruit of the poisonous tree, where the evidence was obtained, without a search warrant. So in this situation, they had all of the bases and all of the boxes checked. So this to me is a signal that they are working in conjunction, the ICAC team and the Indiana State Police ICAC team and Cyber Intelligence Unit is working hand in hand with the homicide teams. So this is really, really important to understand. Okay. So the investigators confirmed after speaking with him that he did, in fact, have Comcast as his provider and that it was a secured network, um, and that he also was in possession of an Instagram and Snapchat apps that he utilized. So he was re-interviewed at 12:35 by FBI, or excuse me. Let me back up. I just made a mistake, and I'm sorry for that. Um, he was interviewed at 12:35 by the feds and ICAC, and he did confirm that yeah, all of that belonged to him. At 1:25, he was again interviewed and reread his Miranda again. So, and he agreed to speak with investigators. Initially, he denied creating the fake accounts on social media and talking to underage girls. However, later in the interview, he admitted to creating Anthony underscore shots profile and speaking with underage children. He told investigators he created the accounts approximately 6 months ago. And so this was February. So we back up 6 months into 2016. And he stated he used to talk to young girls, and he knows personally some of the girls that he talks to, but others he did not. He stated he used to meet them on Instagram and said he knows the girls, he knew their ages, and he communicated with them and he talked to them. He stated if a girl told him she was under 16, he wouldn't care and would continue to talk to them. Okay. That is alarming. Okay. On page 2 here, Now we find that he would discover these young girls on Instagram, and then he would encourage them to migrate over into Snapchat conversations. So this is important. He he baits them on Instagram. This is his MO, right? And then he moves them over into Snapchat where those messages can be deleted and eliminated. Okay. Now, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, husbands, wives, friends, aunts, uncles, this is important for all of us to know about how some of these guys, um, you know, think. Okay. Here he's using one platform and he's moving his victims to a second platform, which is putting him in a position of advantage. Okay. So this guy, again, we go back to high risk, low risk, medium risk offenders. This guy definitely knows that he is a high risk here. And so what he's doing is moving the victims to a position of advantage for him. And he's utilizing social networks to do that. Okay. This is why it's important when we see part two of Dodd on Sunday. I think you're going to find that really interesting. How, when we get into his mind again, we don't have that into this gentleman's mind, but we can see some of it through the investigators and how they are positioning him. They knew immediately as they went at him that they had something going on here, and immediately they read him Miranda, which was, to make sure that all the legal steps have been taken care of. So he finds them on Instagram, and he talked to approximately 15 girls, knowing they were underage, and he advised he probably received pictures from every one of these girls, and he kept a picture gallery. Okay. And I'm not going to go into that personally. We'll let other folks, say or do whatever they want about that. But I just, for the sake of respect, not only for us but for these children, I'm just not going to go there. During his interview, though, he realized that the cops had him, and he made some comments about, he should have left the area, and he planned on taking off to Las Vegas. So, this guy, again, what does this show us? It shows us that he is thinking ahead of the investigation. So he's committing these crimes, but he also has an escape plan. Okay? And, thank goodness the ICAC team and the feds got into him as quickly as they did, because this is exactly, if they somehow connect him to the children, which again, for the record, he's not been connected to the Delphi murders. Okay. But if they do down the line, later on down the line, it's going to become significantly important to understand why, okay, he was ahead internally of the investigation. And when you see part two on Dodd on Sunday, I think some of that clarity will come to you. And, you know, I think we'll be able to connect some of the dots in relationship to the mindset here. Okay? This guy is driven purely by the fuel of fantasy, and he will go to any end to get it. So these guys just don't happen. Okay? They make it happen through a process of multiple behaviors that move them into a selection of victimology. And in this case, he was packing multiple bags, anticipating he was going to go back into Las Vegas. Excuse me, I've got to sneeze. Whew, sorry about that. That said, right, he was going to take off. It didn't happen, unfortunately, for him. Fortunately for the good guys, um, we are able to, now get into some of the things that he has. Okay. They gave him a poly. We don't know what the results were. And they discussed the incidents of this case, and you'll notice something else is blacked out there. Okay. That was from Indiana State Police. So we don't know what the results are. I find that really interesting that they kept those results out. He admitted that he was Anthony Shots in terms of the profile. And then again, he admitted that he had been speaking with underage girls. And thank you, Allison, for saying bless you. Appreciate that. um, his victimology, as he mentioned, was 15 to 17. You see there in the second paragraph. And he also understood how old they were. He stated he's received well over 100 pictures from children. He described many of those pictures as being CP. He also advised he'd received well over 20 videos from children. Now, again, this is a violent crime, even though he's projecting it as, well, they sent me pictures and they sent me this. Okay. No, he is using a position of power and a position of influence over these innocent children. In no way, shape, or form are these children at fault here. We have potentially under mature victims who had no idea what's going on, and we do not know what their circumstances are in relationship to their home environments and that type of stuff. So, this is always important to keep in mind when we talk about the suspects of these types of crime because they're interesting or they're interested in transferring the blame to the victim, right? Victim blaming constantly. Okay, constantly. Okay. So this guy was very sneaky. And as Lisa says, he's very sneaky and he's very um, frightening. I agree with that. It was concluded the polygraph uh, ended at 7:30, and at that point, they transported him back to his residence. So what they did, and wisely, quite frankly, is they locked him in to a position. Now the investigation can take another step forward. They've got a guy back in, you know, 2017, February of 2017, that fits a profile. And when I say profile, SDA, uh, deviant, right? SDB, association or, deviant behavior. They see that his victimology is within the realm of a recent case in the area. They see that he's approximately, within distance of that proximity of those children. Okay. This is really, really, really important early on in this investigation, and which is really fascinating. And thank you, Lisa. Uh, Appreciate that. This is really fascinating that they were on this guy so early. And so I've been thinking through this over the last, couple of days. And by the way, I've not weighed in on this case for a lot of reasons. And one of them is till we see this type of stuff right in front of us. So I think something that you don't want to miss here is in the third under the second paragraph, the line that says the undersigned has watched the interview and polygraph recordings of Keegan Klein. That is really, really important because he is the case agent. And what he's doing, and I've taken his name out of this report and I've redacted all of the references to CP or anything close to that. Okay. What he's doing is he's stepping back and he's seeing the big picture here. What he's doing is he's eliminating all the noise. It's very interesting. This guy who wrote this affidavit is a very, very good investigator. Now, during this time, they broke down multiple devices that were seized and listed on the warrants, including an iPhone 4, an iPhone 3, a Galaxy S5, Galaxy S4, a notebook tablet, and an Apple iPod Touch. So we're going to see why that was so important here in a couple of minutes, because ICAC has, access to some tools. Everybody pretty much knows, who they are now. But it's Celebrite, and what this software does is it's able to not only do associations, it's able to collect all kinds of information that I'm not going to get into here for the sake of future investigations. Okay. So the ICAC team then gets notified that he also has a iPhone 5C, and that he would be willing to turn it in. Unfortunately, some of this was already erased, but unfortunate for him, he didn't know how to get into a lot of these things, and he was able to break some of this down. Now, here's another point that I want to point out here. April 24th, 2020. This investigator was assigned as the lead on this case. Now, what that means is he's the lead on the ICAC case, not on the 187. Okay. So let's not confuse this guy with what's going on in Abby and Libby's other case. So this is a parallel investigation. And what they're doing is, they're flushing this guy now into social media. My guess is, and this is my opinion, is to make sure there aren't any other Anthony shots in the environment. What they're doing is they're checking the box. They are checking the box. So we don't know what that means. We know for sure that, thank you, Pearl. We know for sure that they have said there is nothing at this point connecting him to Abby and Libby. So either they're trying to find something, because they're the ones, Indiana State Police, that put this out, that we're looking for this shot guy. Okay. Or we're looking for information related to this guy. So if any one of you out there in internet land know anything about the moniker Anthony_shots, please contact the Indiana State Police with the information you may have. Okay. And please share that information. Okay. Please share that information. So in June of 2020, the forensics examination information comes back. First on the Apple iPhone 4. Okay. This phone was named Keegan's iPhone, and it was last utilized in on November 11th, 2016. At that time, this individual would have been 22 years old, and access to the phone was protected, and there were numerous usernames and email addresses located on the phone, and then we have some redacted information as to who those victims and or connections could be. The user of this device communicated with young children, teens, and shared media files, i.e., metadata, of CSAM or child SA material. The user also portrayed themselves as a female teen using the name Emily Ann 45. Many of the communications were recovered from Kik messengers and Snapchat. Again, these are monikers and platforms that disappear when they're taken down. Okay, most artifacts were found on this device, so the majority of the evidence against this guy came from this particular i4 phone. Okay, there were multiple media files the user saved, to his device and or shared or received. Now, this is another one of those little words in there, shared. Okay. Remember, these guys operate, okay, in potentially sometimes connective groups. Okay. And as they do that, it's not uncommon for them to share photographs of various victims. And what they'll do is they'll engage those victims with the other individuals. Now, why is that important? Because what they're doing is they're looking further for this moniker on social media. They're looking to see how and what or who else could be connected to that moniker. Okay. Thank you, Natalia. Now, let's think about that. What they're saying there is he used to share information. Okay. So maybe there's other folks out there that should be looking behind themselves at this point. A lot of media artifacts were found. There are multiple CSAM media files that were used depicting children in compromising positions, I'll just say. There were files located which depicted children engaged in horrendously terrible, terrible situations. Now, the reason I want to put this one up here is this guy had multiple Kik chat messaging sessions. And I'm going to jump through. This affidavit is 34 pages. I've cut it down to 17. But in this, I want to show you here where it says this was chat number 92. Now let's wrap our mind around that. Okay, he's using the moniker of Emily Ann 45. Emily Ann 45. And he has already communicated with 91 other folks in Kik. Okay. Now, in 92, he is sharing a Dropbox link for media files. So what he's doing is he's asking his victims to upload media files. Okay. And so in that particular phone, he's going by the portrayal of Emily Ann 45. And he also goes by the portrayal or that name Emily Ann, which is found as in another identity in 2015 on a Samsung device S4. Okay. But you can see where these conversations have been redacted out. Okay. So here is the paper trail, for lack of a better term, of some of these conversations. And all of these, by the way, will be blown up by the prosecution. And the unfortunate jurors will have to witness all of this stuff. Okay. So I'm going to go forward here. He's I put chat 40 in there because look at the engagement he's having. You can't read what they're saying, but if you look over to the left side over there, that's where Emily, all of that is this subject. Okay. He's really engaging these children. And by the way, this individual, you'll notice up at the top here, chat between a 13-year-old on 9/7/2016. So he's communicating with a 13-year-old victim here. And then if we get into chat 84, this takes place in May of 2016. And you can see he's engaging this child through these conversations. And then we get into his 87th chat on May 14th of 2016. This guy is, again, let's keep an eye on how driven they are. The conversation is really going here, and the jury will hear and see what exactly he was talking about. And we know from the evidence that's before us here in this affidavit that it was problematic. This is chat 91. It was on the 14th of May, 2016. Same phone. This is another chat 104 on the 2nd of 2016. This is still 104 at the top. And then we get to chat number 135. 135. And these are kick messages. So he thinks these messages are going away. No, they're not going away. In fact, the evidence is in this affidavit. This is chat number 137, where he is now, by the way, and this 137 lasted from March 28th, 2016 until May 4th, 2016. Okay. That's like 2 months. He's got this poor child. Okay. This is really, really disturbing. And the fact that it's, going on as long as it did, okay, really puts him in the window of possibility. But again, to reiterate, there is no connection currently or in evidence to Abby and Libby. Okay. However, the investigation is fluid and ongoing, and the fact that Indiana State Police put this moniker into the environment, I think they're checking a box to see if he shared it with another person of same thought process. Okay. Libby was on kick, potentially. Is that what somebody's saying? And we see a lot of these conversations kicked out here. Thank goodness. Now we get down to the bottom where it says Snapchat number 1. So on 11/6/2016 to 11/10/2016, he starts utilizing Snapchat as a platform. Okay. This guy is pretty problematic. And thank you, CR. Welcome. It's great to have you here. Tell our mods how much we appreciate them, guys. We absolutely can't do this without them. We love them very much, and we're grateful. And if you are new with us, please hit that subscribe button. That's enough for the McDonoughs. Okay, Snapchat number 1. Let's look at the dates. 11/6 to 11/10, 2016. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the year, around the holiday season, right? At that time. Now we go to the next phone. The next phone is the 3G. This phone was named Keggie, Keggie, and it had a little smiley face emoji. Okay. And was last used by this individual on May 23rd, 2015. At that time, according to the affidavit, he was 20 years old. The device was protected with a PIN code, and there were numerous usernames and email addresses located on the phone, including, and then they black them out. Okay. There were no chat conversations from Skype or Kik messengers recovered from the device that had evidentiary value. Multiple still images, and I blanked it out, of children, basically. The ages of these females was undetermined. Multiple users saved screen captures of conversations were found, i.e., this guy would take screenshots and save them, and they were on the device. Now, the way they pull this is they have what they call a UFED, and you basically are able to break the phone, okay? Break it down into certain things. In one screen capture, the sender specifically identified the receiver as Keegan, Mr. Klein. The user saved over 200 still images to this device, which contained local data that was embedded into the file. Now, let's understand the mindset. All of this, again, could be traded material. It could be fantasy material. It could be reliving token material, as we call it, right? So this guy is cataloging his escapades here. Now, there's a reason for that. It's because he's bored with the last fantasy, and he's taking it to the next level. So what happens, and we see this, and we're going to see it again in the interview with Dodd on Sunday, part 2, and don't miss it, by the way, where he starts to break down, just doing certain things just wasn't good enough. He needed to take it to the next level. And then, of course, ultimately we know how horrific he became. But this guy's on the road. I would submit to you, in my opinion, this guy is definitely on the road. And remember, I've been studying these guys since 1990. So this guy checks all the boxes, in my opinion, just reading this and looking at how his behavior continues to move into the right direction. Okay. Let's see here. Multiple still images. The ages of the females was undetermined. Multiple users. User screen captions or conversations. In one screen capture, the sender specifically identified the receiver as Keegan, which I just read. The user saved over 200 still images to this device, which contained local data that was embedded into the file, i.e., approximately 27 of the still images depicted females who appeared to be at least, and I blanked out their ages. Some of these images depicting, I blanked all that out because we don't need to know that, but we know what it is. Some of the 27 images were geolocated in Indiana cities, including Bunker Hill, Galveston, Indianapolis, Kokomo, Monterey, and Royal Center. Web history was recovered from this device. Below is a sample of the terms that were used to search Google. This guy was on the move. Horrible. Yeah, Carl, exactly. It's a trophy too. Absolutely. Thank you. So let's get into his Galaxy S5. The iPhone was named Klein Photography and was factory reset on approximately February 23rd, 2017. Keegan would have been 22 years old at that time. This device was not secure with a password or a PIN code. There were numerous usernames and email addresses located on this phone, and then they listed them. There were some chat messages recovered from this device from Meet Me, Facebook Messenger, and Snapchat. All right. So these 3 platforms is what this guy was utilizing as well. What does that mean to us as parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc.? We've got to pay attention to what our children are doing on these phones and their devices. Okay? And there were some discussions in here in February 23rd, 2017, February 25th, 2017, discussing meeting people in Las Vegas, i.e. ladies of the evening. Internet web searches were discovered on this device. The searches included, certain terms as well as some children's stuff. The Galaxy S5 had videos on it that were inappropriate. This video was named the Galaxy S4. Now we get into the next one here on the Galaxy here. This one here was utilized June 25th, 2015. The forensic analysis showed the device was powered on multiple days after this date, but not utilized on those days. Keegan would have been 21 years old at the time. Okay. This device was secured by a swipe pattern and a PIN code. There were numerous usernames and email addresses located on this phone, and they've blocked these out for obvious reasons because they're reverse engineering this particular caper through all of these victims. Okay, and again, then we do need to think about why. Okay, there is this idea that they've put this back out into the ether. There were many chat conversations recovered from this device. Several conversations appeared to be with teenagers and also depicting inappropriate material, which I blanked out there. The user of these 2 profiles, Keegan Klein and Emily Ann, Keegan's stepsister, to communicate with females. So I don't know if he was utilizing this other family member. I hope not, but if it was, wow. Conversations were found on this device where Emily discussed how she, blank, and Keegan would engage in inappropriate conduct. There were multiple CSAMs, which is, bad files found saved to this device, i.e. he utilized it and, for his fantasies, thank you, Ann, and saved it to that device. The way the files were named indicated the images were captured by screenshots. So this guy is organized, evident of the fact that he is naming his files and naming his types of places where he was going to put these. Snapchat, Skype, and they were basically contained inside of all of those folders. Many of the CSAM files depicted female children, more still images depicting possible drugs, and drug paraphernalia were found on this device. Internet web searches recovered with certain terms used on a Samsung web browser. Notebook. This is a tablet that he had. Device name is unknown and was last utilized March 9th, 2016. Now, this is really, really interesting because these devices, okay, were pre-encryption as a whole. Okay. The later devices, which he started to use, had a little bit higher encryption technology to them. Okay. So, is he thinking ahead again by basically putting these in the background? Because this device last used in March of 2016. The other one before that, I think we learned it was 2015. So as we get closer to a time frame that the investigators would be interested in, February of 2017, okay, then is he adapting and improvising in relationship to thinking and fantasizing? Now, one of the things we're going to pick up pretty quickly is when we see Dodd again. That's exactly what he tried to do. This would be very interesting for Dodd, in my opinion, to kind of measure off where technology is advancing and what the weaknesses are and what the strengths are. He definitely was very well equipped to create these facades, these catfish accounts where, he just creates this, persona, Anthony underscore, shots, utilizes the photographs of that poor kid on his, page there. And by the way, that kid, for the record, has nothing to do with any of this. Okay, the police have made that clear. And again, this individual, Mr. Klein, has not been listed and or connected to Abby or Libby. Okay, let's make that clear again. However, with the notebook, he would have been 21 at that time. So he's adapting as well. He's getting older and he's becoming more efficient. And he's dealing with a victimology that I can tell currently anywhere from 13 to 17. That is his victimology. There were numerous email addresses, etc. There were numerous chat conversations recovered from this device. The user of this device and multiple communication platforms, including Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Kick Messenger, MeetMe.com, Skype, and Snapchat. In this particular device, he has brought all of the tools under one pane of glass. Not uncommon. What he's done is he has consolidated all of the tools he uses to hunt victims. The user of this device initiated conversations on Facebook Messenger and asked or suggested the conversations be moved to Kick Messenger or Snapchat. So what he's done here is, again, expanded his technology capabilities, but he has maintained his modus of operandi to move the victim towards a more secure platform in his mind at that time, whereby he would not be discovered. I would submit this is what and why the investigators have put this information out there, as to make sure that we are taking a hard look at it as the public. The bottom one there is Apple iPod Touch. This device was named Keegan and was last utilized on approximately 5/30/2015, Keegan would have been 21 at that time. This device was secured with a PIN code. There were multiple usernames. There were multiple still images found on this device and depicting females in inappropriate situations. The ages of the females were undetermined. 4 still images of female teens on the device contained local data which was embedded into the file, i.e. geocode, i.e. they knew where they were, i.e. meaning the town, where it's coming from. The location of these images was from Hammond or Royal Center, Indiana. There were numerous internet searches on this device, and below is a sample of those searches. The Apple iPhone 5C. It is also named Keegan, and it was turned over to the Indiana State Police. The phone was last utilized in February 27, 2017. Keegan would have been 22 at the time. The device was secured with a PIN code. There were numerous usernames and email addresses located in this device. And this is where it gets interesting, folks. The user of this device used Facebook's, Instagram, MeetMe, Snapchat, and Twitter to communicate or chat. So he's up another platform here. He keeps adding. Okay. Now look at the time frame. February 27th, 2017. Much of this data from these applications was deleted. Second paragraph, you can read it right there. The examination found multiple still images saved to the device, however, that were depicted inappropriate material. I scratched it all out there because, we know what it is. The ages of these females were indeterminate. At approximately 02/27/2017 at 09:48 hours, the user cleared or deleted the Safari web browser history and websites from this device. During the examination, some information was recovered. Below is a sample of the terms that were searched. While looking over the digital forensic examination report, I noticed the user of the Apple iPhone 5C deleted multiple items off the phone before turning it in to law enforcement. On February 25th, 2017, the search warrant was served on client's residence, and Keegan was interviewed and polygraphed. On February 27th, 2017, Keegan called the Indiana State Police to turn in the Apple iPhone 5C. So apparently he had it hidden somewhere. They were unable to find it. They have these really cool dogs that are able to smell some of the disk and some of the computer parts, utilized in this type of problem. I've seen many of them when you go to these ICAC conference. These dogs are really cool, and they're able to find this stuff. Hopefully they utilized one, but either way, these guys have done a fantastic job to date, and we can see it. I think they're getting pretty close here, actually. I would suspect at some point. While looking over the digital, excuse me, I hope I didn't just read that. I did. February 27th, 2017 at approximately 7:30, Keegan's polygraph was concluded, so they gave him another poly. He was transported back to his residence, or that's the first one. My bad. It's not my mind. My mind is sharp. Trust me. Ask anybody that's under my umbrella right now that I'm investigating. Real murders. The digital forensic examination report shows at approximately 9:19 p.m., the user of the iPhone started to uninstall and delete apps from the phone. At approximately 9:19 p.m., the user uninstalled and deleted Snapchat. This guy knows it's coming, right? He's cooking here. He's cooking here. At approximately 10:14 p.m., the user uninstalled and deleted Instagram from the phone. He's on the run here. He's on the run. February 26, 1:12 p.m., the user uninstalled and deleted Meet Me from the phone. The user put Snapchat back on the device on February 27, 2017 at approximately 1:28 p.m. The user again uninstalled and deleted it from the phone. Keegan admitted to using these applications to chat with underage girls. The evidence contained in these applications were destroyed when the user deleted them from the device before turning it into law enforcement. Law enforcement officers observed Keegan, are you ready for this? Staying at his girlfriend's apartment August 14th and 15th, 2020, located at, and it is blacked out. Due to the affirmation probable cause, are requesting this investigation be reviewed for consideration of charges, and he refers us to the Indiana State Incident Report and then signs off. And I've taken his name out for obvious reasons, because this guy, in my opinion, is a real hero. Working this particular case. All right, that said, it's kind of a quick breakdown. I'm an hour and 15 minutes into this. Know that there's more coming. Okay. And we are so grateful that each and every one of you took some time out this afternoon to kind of break this down. So hopefully you'll make it for Sunday. We're going to talk about Dot again and, kind of get into his head a little bit more. And I think when we do that, this guy here potentially could make a lot more sense. Okay. So with that, guys, let's continue to be good to each other, be kind with each other, always have the spirit of aloha. Thank you for being here, our friends in Europe, and all of our friends from around the world. We love you. We're grateful. Please subscribe. Please share this video, and I will see you on Sunday. Have a great day, and make sure you stay for the very end where you're going to see Buddy. Have a good one.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. face in a while.